Hey guys, it's Frank from WNYathletics.com and welcome to the High School Sportsline. Today is Tuesday, April 21st, and we've got two very good guests lined up for you today. Lauren Mucica, a three-sport athlete from Mount St. Mary's, heading down to Slippery Rock this fall. She's going to join me, as well as Khari from the Niagara Gazette Sports Department. Two very good interviews. You're going to enjoy those segments. And I want to give a shout out to Katie Putney, volleyball player from Starpoint. She signed an NLI to attend American University. And Michael Wolfgang from Allegheny Limestone will be he's heading down to Binghamton for track. So congratulations to those two athletes and their future careers. Best of luck to them. If you have any announcements, please get them into me, fwolf@wnyathletics.com, or tweet at me at wolf3328. We do this show every night at 8 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to the WNY Athletics YouTube page, like the WNY Athletics Facebook page, and we appreciate your support. Today's show is brought to you by UBMD Orthopedics, G&G Fitness, and Scroy Financial. Here's Lauren Mucica from Mount St. Mary's. Welcome back to WNY High School Sportsline. My next guest today is Lauren Mucica from Mount St. Mary's. She's a four-year basketball player there for the Thunder. She also did volleyball, 3 seasons on varsity and 3 seasons on the varsity lacrosse team. Ms. Mucica, she is going to Slippery Rock this fall. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good. First question is, why did you choose the Mount 50, 60 years ago?
I chose
Seems
the
like
Mount.
forever, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. I chose the Mount because it just felt like home, and it was a really loving and welcoming community. And I remember when I shadowed with my friend who went to St. Amelia's with me, and I just love the feel to it, and all the teachers are really nice, and I loved all the girls and stuff.
And what about like taking a look at the other private schools? Or I would imagine you would have gone to either Kenmore East or Kenmore West.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Why did you want to stick with the private school? Did you have a choice?
Yeah, I had a choice. I just wanted to stick to a private school because I went to St. Amelia's, and that was a private school, so I kind of been going all my life. So just thought I'd continue that on.
You were a scholar athlete, honorable mention this past year. Just talk about being recognized for your academics and not just your athletics.
Yeah, I really make sure that academics comes first in my high school career, and I was really proud of myself for that, and it was like a big achievement for me. So
when you're not training or in season, what do you like to do? Are you doing a lot of reading?
Yeah, I like to read a lot actually, and listen to music and hang out, FaceTime my friends and stuff.
So if one of your friends were to kidnap your Apple Tunes or whatever you use for music, what's like, if they hit random, what's most likely going to pop up first?
Country music, definitely.
Okay. Very good. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but your family, you have pretty good genes in terms of your mother played collegiately. Was it volleyball or basketball?
She played basketball at Niagara.
Okay. Were you looking at Niagara at all at any point?
Yeah, that was my other top choice. But I was really torn between Niagara and Slippery Rock, but Slippery Rock felt more like home to me.
And what about your dad?
My dad played basketball at Plattsburgh College in upstate New York.
So you've been pretty much playing basketball your entire life?
Yeah.
Did you play at Blessed Sacrament at all?
No, I did not.
You just played at St. Amelia's before that?
Mm-hmm.
Was there another youth girls basketball league?
Yeah, I played AAU for City Rocks and the Lady Lakers. I stopped doing that my sophomore year just because I got too much with like lacrosse and stuff.
If you had one sport that you could play forever, is basketball it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I like them all, but I would say basketball.
So this past fall, at some point, you injured yourself and you missed most of the basketball season.
Yes.
Okay, but you were able to get back into the lineup, played a couple games, and got hurt again.
Yeah, so I hurt my hip flexor. I had a lot of pain in that, and then like I played like 3 more games, and then I tore my ACL and MCL. So
That was horrible.
yeah, it was not fun.
I happened to catch that game. I think you were playing St. Mary's of Lancaster,
Yeah.
and you were playing really well. I mean, moving the ball well, up and down the court. It wasn't the closest of games at the time, I don't believe. I think they were up
Yeah.
by a couple points.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw you go down really hard in front of us, and there was nothing you could do. I'm looking over at the scorer's table like, okay, so the trainer's going to come out any second. She's going to be out any minute. Okay, sometime this hour, the trainer's coming out. I felt so bad because I knew you were in a lot of pain, and I didn't know what the protocol was for helping an athlete. Usually there's a trainer, so I felt kind of bad. But that was a tough experience to go through.
Yeah, it really was. Like when I went down, I heard like a pop in my knee, and I knew. I was like, oh boy, that's not good.
Everybody within 30 feet heard it.
Yeah. I remember just like being on the ground, like crying, and I was in shock. Like I remember when they took me off the court and they put like ice. They used a bag of snow for ice on my knee. I didn't feel that at all when they put it on. So it was like, this is so weird. Something's not right.
You knew something was wrong right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough. But I will tell you, so we see a lot of moments throughout the year. We do attend a lot of games, but watching, I got to believe it was your 2 younger brothers.
Yeah.
Carry you off the court. That was a nice moment. I mean, it sucked you were injured, but watching your 2 younger brothers help you off the court was very, very nice to see, I got to say.
Yeah, they deserve a lot of credit. They've helped me through this whole thing. They would like go and get me water and stuff when I couldn't.
So that will cost you at some point, rides to the mall, rides to friends' houses. So you're going to owe those guys big time.
Yeah, definitely.
At some point. They're 2 very good young men. What are you going to miss most about the life at Mount St. Mary's?
I'm just gonna miss all the people. Everyone at Mount is just so nice, and it doesn't matter like what grade anyone's in. Like everyone's friends with each other no matter what, and I'm just gonna miss that so much.
Talk about the job that the athletic director, Mr. Pernick, has done, and don't sugarcoat it.
Okay. Mr. Pernick has done a great job, I think, really with bringing the teams together and kind of just making things more exciting. And I don't know, I think he deserves a lot of credit for all that he's done.
So obviously you're still out. You've got, I think you told me you have another 6 months of rehab.
Yeah.
So you would not be able to participate in the spring sports.
Yeah, I would not be able to.
So I don't know if this would be easier for you to answer or not, but I've been asking a lot of the senior athletes that were ready to participate in the spring, because of what's going on and everything that, you have to go through right now. No one's ever had to go through that with this COVID-19 shutting everything down. As a senior high school athlete with technically another season available to you in softball, would you
lacrosse.
Lacrosse. Start again. No. With lacrosse. Would you rather put on the uniform one more time, or would you rather walk across that stage in front of your family and friends in your cap and gown and receive your diploma?
That's definitely a tough question, but I think I would choose to walk at graduation with all my friends and be in front of my family. Because I mean, I love my team and everything, but I think the graduation, definitely.
And that's the intelligent answer. I couldn't say that before, but you're the first one to say that you'd rather walk across the stage. And I think anyone that would look back 10, 20, 30 years that, you worked so hard for 4 years, really your entire life, you worked towards your high school graduation. So there you have it. a freshman coming into Mount St. Mary's, what type of advice would you give a young lady?
I would say don't worry about not making friends because you're gonna make a ton of friends no matter what grade. I would say join all the clubs and sports teams, even if you've never played before, because I never played lacrosse in my life, and I went to tryouts my freshman year and loved it. I had a blast. And I would say for like all the incoming athletes, play every game like it's your last because you never know when it could be your last.
Is there one moment in high school, whether it's academics or through athletics, one that you're never going to forget?
Definitely the lacrosse championship last year, beating Sacred Heart and being able to go to states because that was the first year they allowed the girls team to go. And that was just such a fun game. And that team was so special. And I miss everything about that team. And yeah.
So I was wrong. I thought it would be the time just this past winter when they allowed you on the court to score one more bucket. Was that against Snarden or Nichols?
That was against Nichols on senior night.
Okay, that was cool.
Yeah, that was awesome too. That was one of
Although I think you traveled.
I know, I was nervous. Yeah, that was stressful.
Just kidding. But I think you've had a phenomenal career, and I'm looking forward to see how things go at Slippery Rock. Please don't be a stranger. Check in with WNY Athletics. Let us know how you're doing. We're going to hopefully see you your sophomore year playing basketball. Have you taken a look at their schedule at all to see how close they come to Western New York and that sort of thing?
No, I haven't actually. I probably should.
Well, I haven't either. But I'm sure there's a lot of people back home in Western New York that will want to travel to see a couple of your games. So we do wish you the best of luck at Slippery Rock. You're going to come home a special education teacher? Possibly?
Yeah.
Early childhood development?
Yeah.
Oh, and Coach Fran Snyder suggested to me, I should say, last early December, I want to say, that he could see you as a coach someday. What do you think about that?
I would love to coach. It's really fun. And when I was injured and on the basketball team, Fran and Billy said, "Oh, you're our assistant to the assistant coach," and I loved it. It's a lot of fun.
Very good. Well, hope you have a great day and enjoy the rest of the spring and have a great career down at Slippery Rock.
Thank you.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Welcome back to WNY High School Sportsline. This is Frank Wolf from WNYathletics.com, and I'm joined by my good pal, Khari Demos from the Niagara Gazette. Khari, what are we calling the Gazette now? You got a new name for that.
So what it is so since it's the Gazette and the Lockport Union Sun and Journal, since we both put out a lot of cross content. We go by the GNN Sports, so that's Greater Niagara Newspapers.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. How's John D'Onofrio doing? I haven't seen John. It sucks, man, but he's I always like running into John.
Yeah, I haven't. Let me see. I talked to him. It might have been a week and a half at this point ago now, since I last talked with him. But yeah, he's still churning out stuff. Mike's still churning out stuff. I'm taking a little break now, so I'm gonna be letting them do their thing over there. But I'll be watching that. They still got a lot of stuff to cook up, so still a lot to talk about even in these unique times.
Yeah, shout out to JD and Mike at this time. Khari, since there isn't a whole lot going on right now, I thought it would be a great time to talk to you about your high school to college transformation, what it was like as a high school junior, senior, being recruited, starting to take a look at the college prospects that you had at that time, and then your college career, because you, as we talked about, started looking. I think you're going to go D2, ended up going D1, and then you went over to John Fisher at D3. So you played the tic-tac-toe there.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was in a unique position already just because I had played varsity all 4 years of high school. I was a 3-year starter, so I was talking to schools all throughout high school. So by the time my junior and senior year came, I would say even more so my senior year, I had been talking to UB a little bit about, they had expressed a lot of interest to my coaches. So I had always kept them on my radar, and, who wouldn't want to play at home? So, I always kept that in the back of my mind. But once my senior season was wrapped up, they told me at the beginning of the process, like, hey, we don't have scholarship money for you right now. So, if there's other opportunities, go ahead, do your thing. So I really appreciated their honesty for that. So that led me to committing with Mercyhurst University. I got a half academic, half athletic scholarship. So I was ready, planning to go. It's so funny. Mr. D'Onofrio did a story about me in high school, committing there, and it was pretty big thing around here. But I would say maybe 2-3 weeks later, shout out to Coach Greg Bronson. Now, he was my head coach at the time. He texted me and was saying how UB's coaches were still really interested in me joining the team and everything. And I was like, well, don't they know, like, I just committed to a school? Like, I had already planned. This was probably April at this point. So I had thought everything was all settled, but they, kept poking and prodding. And, the nice thing was I was sold on the fact that, UB had given the most scholarships to walk-ons at that time. And, I think that's one thing I want to talk about too, is like, I was a walk-on. So like when people say, oh, this kid was a walk-on, like people just assume like, okay, well, this kid had to try out and then they had to go join the roster. Like, no, I was a preferred walk-on. Like I was told like, hey, listen, you're going to report for camp. You're going to, do everything with the team. You're going to be working with the team meetings, team lifts, practice. You're going to dress for the home games, be on the sideline. I was just a traditional red shirt like any other true freshman would be, but I just wasn't on scholarship at the time. But they had given so many scholarships to walk-on players like Brandon Murray, and I can't think of any of some other bigger names that you guys would probably remember. But, so like I was sold on that, and I thought I had the opportunity. And plus, I was so young. I literally started at UB. I was 17 years old. I turned 18 that October. So my first 2 months on campus, can't drive after 9 or anything like that. But no, it was a fun time. But, I share my story because, especially with what I do, I really got into this field, obviously, because, being from here and having such a strong connection with the sports world. But, I know the process that these kids go through, and like, it's such a process, I know there are times where it can be discouraging. You might not get offers that you want, or you might talk to a coach and then they don't get back to you, or they get back to you later than they expected. Just got to stay the course. But one thing that I would always tell these kids is, one, go with your heart. If something feels right, the situation's best for you. Never go against that. Secondly, I would always say too, though, is, make sure it's the right situation all the way around. I think that's what was the biggest reason for why I left UB. The football, it was a challenge. It's Division I football. We played Ohio State week 1. We played Baylor week 2. Like, in my time there, we would have played Penn State and some other big schools too. But for me, it wasn't about the football side, because I knew I could figure that out eventually. But
you know what's crazy though? I hate to interrupt you, but that Baylor game,
mm-hmm.
There's a Western New York connection there.
Really?
Yeah, this kid who graduated a year ahead of me, or maybe 2 years ahead of me, his son actually played for Baylor.
Really?
And we thought for sure he had a shot at the NFL. We thought he was close. He didn't get drafted. Might have had some invitations to try out and things like that, but it just wasn't for him ultimately. he didn't want to put any more into it. He thought he sacrificed enough, and he didn't get drafted, and he was ready for the next part of his life.
Right.
But I mean, the guy went to Kenmore West High School, and his son moved out found his way down to Texas, and his son was playing at Baylor, and he came back, and his son got to play, and his son was an incredible cornerback.
Mm.
Chance was his kid's name was. If you get a chance to look him up, he had an incredible college career.
Wow. Yeah, those teams it's crazy. Like, to even, like, you kind of know, obviously, when you're in the situation, but looking back, it's so crazy because, like, it was actually UB played Baylor in 2013 and in 2014. 2013 was an away game. 2014 was a home game. So 2013, it was like Bryce Petty was their quarterback. They had I want to say Lake Seastrunk, who played in the league for Keyshawn Seastrunk, I believe it was. One of the two. I think it was Lake Seastrunk. Yeah. He played in the NFL briefly. Bishop Sankey. I want to say Corey Coleman was a young guy on those teams, but they had a few other guys too, a few other receivers. Oh, KD Cannon, a few other big-name receivers. But, yeah, it was crazy to see. And even, like, playing against Ohio State too, like, that's when they had Ryan Shazier, Braxton Miller. Running back was Carlos Hyde at the time. So a lot of NFL guys, big name guys, Heisman Trophy candidates and things like that. So it was crazy. But leaving UB, big thing for me was school. For me, my mom always preached to me, you could get hurt tomorrow and God forbid never be able to play again. So education was always a priority for me. And I'm not trying to take a jab at UB or anything like that, but their communication program was more theory-based than practice-based. So it was a lot more about learning about the art of communication, the study of communication, versus, okay, we're putting you in this sports writing class, or we're putting you in this broadcasting class, or we're putting you in this newspaper class. You know what I mean? There wasn't as many experiences with that. And, like, there weren't as many, like, internship, like, opportunities. So I just took that and was like, well, okay, if I'm going to leave, like, I want to be able to go to somewhere where it's not too far from home. I want to be able to play, obviously, but also, too, like, I want to be able to go somewhere where, like, my education is going to really be first. And the cool thing about Fisher was their comm program was going from journalism and communication. It was switching over to media and communication. So it was getting a rebrand. It was refreshed. And also, too, I think this honestly was, and this was like something I didn't even realize at the time, but once I got to Fisher, their sport management program is one of two accredited programs in the state. I believe the other is NU's, but it was a blessing. Being able to minor in sport, where I was getting opportunities that most sport management kids wouldn't get, but comm kids need some of these opportunities too. But it was cool because I was able to get a lot of them in the sports side. Like, I did intern with 97 Rock, which I honestly pursued on my own. I lucked up into, but they referred me to Channel 8 WROC there. I believe it's the CBS affiliate in Rochester, but I was helping out in their sports department. And then I got to intern with the Bills for it was like OTA and mini camps heading into the 2017 season. So that was cool, just to be in an NFL organization, seeing how their comm broadcasting department just works every day.
Nice. No regrets, though.
None. No regrets. No regrets. Especially because, people ask me, like, man, you went from a Division I school to a Division III school. And I'm like, I hear what you're saying, but, like, I didn't just go to any run-of-the-mill Division III school. Like, I went to a Division III school where, like, I wasn't the only Division I transfer coming in. Like, my first year, actually, we came into the season. I want to say we were ranked, like, we were a top 15 ranked team. And we got all the way up to 6th in the country. But, we had not only myself, but James Chambers, for some of you guys out there who remember James, he was a Conley Cup finalist back in 2012, our senior year. He transferred in because he was at UB as well. Our other running back was a University of Albany transfer. We had a receiver who transferred from Mount Union, and I mean anybody knows what Mount Union is. They don't look at Mount Union as a Division III program. They look at college programs. Our quarterback, he had some opportunities to walk on at Syracuse and come to UB and things like that, but things just didn't pan out. So that was the cool thing about not just our team, because our team was loaded with kids like that, but also our conference. There were kids at Brockport and Cortland, same situations. Had offers from a place, maybe got hurt, and then they got them taken away, or just kind of blew up later in the game. So so it really just was. It was cool to be able to see that many kids, that a lot of them from in-state, but even out of state, that came in, that were those big names that just kind of, I want to say, fell under the radar.
Good. Yeah. A lot, and you had touched on this, and we hear it all the time. A lot of these conversations start and end with, where do you feel most at home?
Mm-hmm.
When you step on a campus, I talked to a young lady before I talked to you, and her mother went to Niagara University, so it was almost like her career path wasn't necessarily chosen, but it would have been easy for her to just go to Niagara. But she took the time to go and look at other schools, and she's glad she did. She walked into Slippery Rock, and it felt like home for her, and that's where she's going to attend in the fall. So you have to go where your heart tells you to go. And, obviously you want to play. You're an athlete, Khari. You're an athlete. You want to be able to play. You may not have realized at the time, or maybe you did, but you were thinking this was your bread and butter at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you had obviously a good support system with your mom, telling you that, and she gave you the great advice of, you could get injured. So what can you do off the football field that's going to carry you in life? And, obviously you got into the career you are, and you're at the Niagara Gazette now. And, so you have come full circle. And are there bigger and better things out there for you? I believe there is. I think that you could easily, if you keep working at it, could see yourself with a major news outlet, or covering maybe the NBA as a sideline reporter, maybe the NFL. You never know. Fox Sports, ESPN, whatever, what have you. So I know that there will be other opportunities out there for you eventually, and you won't forget about WNY Athletics.
Of course. Of course not.
Hey, you might need somebody to fetch you coffee. I'll do it.
Hey, you know what? They always say, don't burn those bridges you cross, and, someone else who's given me the opportunity to be a part of what you've built, which is already, a tremendous thing to see. So yeah, if that opportunity comes, don't you worry, I got you.
We're not asking for a lot. We're not asking for a lot. But no, I think it's a lot of kids that are right now juniors, or even some seniors that don't have that path. They don't know what they want to do. They don't know what's around the corner. They need options, and they need to hear from guys like you that have been there.
Right.
And we've got a lot of good football players. So we got a lot of good track stars, a lot of good basketball players.
Yeah.
It's important, I think, to level with some of them at times too. I coached youth sports for many years, and I would hear from kids on my team talking about, oh, that kid's D1, and you're a 7th, 8th grader. I'm like, you have no idea what D1 means. You can hardly spell D1. So, calm down. They should talk to you, guys like you that have been there, that had the opportunity to go D1 and play and suit up for a D1 football team. It's important to hear these stories.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you say that, you shared that story, and it's like, I feel it so much, because I remember as a high school, or as a freshman, you know what I mean? I get moved up to varsity at age 13. I personally thought I had no business being on the varsity, but coaches saw what I could become. But everybody else sees, oh, he's a freshman playing varsity. Oh, you got to go D1. All this stuff, I'm hearing this all the time in school. It's man, I just started playing football 2 years ago. Can I get my feet underneath me first before I figure stuff out? You know what I mean? And I think that's the tough thing. There's a lot of pressure that gets put on these kids' plates, and that's the thing about it is like they are kids, you know.
Yeah.
They still have to figure out, you know, how they're gonna pay for lunch that day. They still got to figure out, you know, what, you know, that homework assignment that's been kicking their butt all semester. Like, you know, there's just so many little things that these kids are still dealing with each and every day before they even get to that point. So that's why, you know, I think sometimes, you know, like for example, a kid like Roddy Gale, like who has so many offers and they see all the things that he does on the court. You got to remember, this is a 16-year-old kid. This is a
Barely
kid
old enough to drive.
barely old enough to drive. This is a kid who still has to finish 2 years of high school. So yes, we know what's waiting for him. You know, God willing, he stays healthy, keeps balling out, keeps impressing scouts. You know, that there's gonna be more to come. But that's the thing. Like, I think that was the one thing that I really didn't like about the process the most was you almost speed through it because you're the anticipation of, okay, where am I going to go? Or, what coaches are going to reach out? Like so much at once. It's almost like you don't get a chance to really stop and appreciate it until it's behind you, which sucks. So I tell kids to enjoy the process. And, you know, I think two specific ways that they can really help themselves specifically is, one, if there's a coach that from the beginning lays the groundwork and says, hey, listen, like, I really want you to come to our school. You know, I really want to see you, you know, help this program out. Don't take that as a slight. You know, it could be a Division III school, Division I school, whatever program. Don't take that as a slight. Look at that as an opportunity to say, hey, listen, like, I'm going to build a relationship with this coach, you know, because you never know, even if, God forbid, you're about to commit there and that coach leaves or of some sort, maybe they get to another situation and they're like, hey, you know what? I know you were really interested in the school I was just recruiting you to, but, you know, I'm here now. I'm not sure how you feel about it. That could be another door opened up for you. But also,
absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
it's
Look at Nate Oates in UB.
Right, exactly.
All those dudes that were coming to UB ended up going to Alabama because they loved the coach. They fell in love with the coach. This is someone I could play for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that definitely has merit.
Yeah, and I would say also on top of that, go into as many camps as you possibly can. Obviously, financial restrictions and travel restrictions may hold that back, you know, I'm not saying just for the specific time, but like, you know, in any year, like it can be expensive to go to some of these. Like,
it's $250, $300. Even if going to Syracuse for the day, it could still be a good $300 fee. I mean, it's not cheap.
right.
These camps, these showcases are not free.
No, exactly.
So you gotta be careful.
And you gotta be selective at that point too, you know, because, you know, some camps, it's, you know, it's the program there and maybe a few other coaches or a few other programs that are like around the area that are coming in. So it gives you exposure to a handful of coaches. But then there are some camps where it's like you said, a showcase where, you know, 20, 30, 40 coaches are there and you're getting an opportunity to just give them a glimpse of what they can work with. Because, you know, Coach A from Big State might be a bigger fan of you than Coach B from, you know, State University. You know what I mean? So it's like you just gotta take whatever situation you get into at that point and go from there, because, you know, it only takes one coach to really give you a chance. Your plan should be to only stay with one program. Obviously, you can't foresee the future, but, you know, if you do get the opportunity, you know, all it takes is one to give you that opportunity.
Should a kid, a prospect, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
when they're looking at schools, almost immediately they have to look at how they fit in, not just on that particular team they're being recruited for, whether it's basketball or, you know, where in the track team, what events am I going to be a part of, football. Is this the program right for me? You know, how are they going to use me? I mean, do I complement this offense?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just another plug-in player? Do I
Mm-hmm.
complement this offense? That's one thing that I'd want to be asking. Can I take this, what this coach is trying to do on the field? Can I take it to the next level for him? Or am I just someone battling for a position? And then again, academically, what do they offer me academically? Do I want to go into criminal justice? Do I want to go into broadcast media? Do I want to become a doctor? What does the school offer me academically at the same time? Because as your mother said, you may not play football forever. You may get hurt and it may be over, and you still have to worry about what you're going to do after that football career or your athletic career comes to a close.
Mm-hmm.
So kids really need to understand what's going on at school from an academic standpoint.
So true, like it's funny. Chase Young, obviously everybody knows him, big Ohio State draft prospect who should be a top 3 pick, come Thursday. He met Denzel Washington at a basketball game this past year. And he said, hey, just use football as a platform, and I tell that to all athletes, use whatever sport you are using as a platform, because how many of the kids that we covered this past school year are going to go pro? You know what I mean? How many of them? I mean, if any.
You hope you get at least 2, maybe 3.
Right.
But that's, the numbers, that's asking a lot. That's
right.
Asking a lot.
Exactly. So, being able to because that was, it's funny, like how ironic, my mom would always say, listen, like you could get hurt tomorrow. Like I had never had any major injuries playing until I got to Fisher. Like I was injury ridden the whole time I was there. And that was like really what held me back from going to play at the next level. Like, I had some pro scouts, Washington Redskins came to meet with us, but I was in a sling when I'm meeting with them. And this was my 4th surgery in the span of 3 years. So, they're seeing a kid who's, I was 22, 21 at the time, but my body was so physically just punished at the point, you know what I mean? So I knew from then, like, listen, like my decision to put school first was right, because I don't think my future is playing football at the professional level, but at the same time, I can still be around the game. So that's why.
Yeah.
But like you said, though, like the complete package is so crucial, because that was a big part of why Fisher was so nice. I did have the opportunity to step in and play right away. I saw that. But also, too, I was getting to play in a spread offense, I was an athletic offensive tackle. So I was like, that's the type of offense I want to be playing in. I don't want to be playing in a wing tee, or I want to be playing in, you know what I mean? Like, just being honest about it, what you want as a player.
Absolutely.
An athlete. And
make that school and that program attractive.
Right, exactly. It just kept adding. There was just too many things in the favor of the school that made me realize, like, this is where I probably should be, So you got to just take all those little signs and just add them up, If they keep adding up to what you want, because only person that knows what you want to do is you. Nobody can force you to go into a situation that you don't want to be in. You know what I mean? So I think that's definitely what you got to really look into.
How much does the size of an athlete come into play when colleges are looking at you? You've got some fantastic athletes that may not be that 6'2", 240-pound, 210-pound hulking athlete, if you will, like a Gronk. They don't grow on trees, but you've got some athletes that are anywhere from 5'5" to 5'9", 6 feet, under 6 feet, just muscle from head to toe, no fat, superb athletes.
Yeah.
How does it hurt them if they're under 6'1", 6'2" in the recruiting process?
I think so. Just look at one of our best players in the area this past year, Joe Carlson from Star Point. There's nobody out here that would say he wasn't a first team All Western New York football player. But you look at his measurables, that was something I'm sure was a quote unquote red flag to some bigger programs. He ends up at Cortland, and hey, that's fine with, going to a program where he's probably going to be a starter for 4 years.
Yes.
get his education,
Yeah.
play a ton, you know, and be done with it. And, you know, it's so crucial though. Like, you know, people see me and are like, oh man, you know, you're a big guy, this and that. And I'm like, listen, man, like going to UB, I felt like the little duckling. Like it was crazy. Like I remember actually one of our offensive tackles is a Western New York guy, John Kling. I believe he played at Depew. He was 6'7", 6'8". Our other offensive tackle, Jake Silas, 6'7", 6'8". Our guards and centers, they might not have been super duper tall, not 6'5", 6'6", but those guys were 320, 315 just naturally. You know what I mean? So especially at the Division I level, I would say the size, just because it's an attention grabber. You know, you can be as skillful as a Joe Carlson or a Lydia Sweeney. You know what I mean? But those measurables are things that those coaches do attract to naturally, just because
Absolutely.
they can immediately, when they're recruiting, they can say, hey, listen, like, unless this is like a 5-star prospect, I don't want a player under 6'1". So then they could just immediately
knock off like our kids.
Exactly. So that's a whole subset that they don't look at. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm saying about, you know, those kids that fall through the cracks. You know, you got some kids who might go unnoticed because they don't have those measurables, but they might be more skilled than a lot of those guys at the top, you know? I mean, some of the kids
some more mature, physically and mentally more mature.
For sure. I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of diamonds in the rough, I think, that are under that 6'1" that are physical specimens that I think will have a lot of success, not only here, obviously. We'll see that, obviously, every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and whatever sport they're playing, to be honest. But I think there are a number of athletes that should not be discouraged by how tall they are. If they just ball out and bring it to every contest, every practice, because you never know who's watching, showcases, just bring it and have a good attitude. I think you can still get an opportunity to play at the next level. It may not be at UB. It may not be at Syracuse. It probably won't be at Alabama, but you can still catch on to maybe a Mercyhurst or a Cortland, Ithaca, Buff State. There's nothing wrong with going to Buff State. Connor Mahoney from Lancaster just committed there recently, and if you were to get 10 or 15 football guys in a room, and they were talking about the biggest and baddest football players in Western New York and who you'd want on your team, there's no way you get through 15 without mentioning Connor Mahoney's name. And if you pick Buff State, that says a lot about that program, what Coach Oz is doing over there. And, you know, you could go be a superstar at Buff State. It all depends on you walk on campus and how you feel. Is this the right fit for me? So, you know, you hit the nail on the head with what you said earlier, and obviously your career path, you know, suggests that you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, it's just, you know, people like to downplay playing D3 or, you know, oh, did they go D1 or is that a Division I school? Like, college athletics as a whole, I don't care what level it is no joke. You know, I've seen some of the best athletes that I got to see were at the Division III level, and like kids that you're like, how are they here? Like, why? Like, how did they not go to a bigger school? Like, what happened? I had a quarterback, our starting quarterback, my junior and my sophomore and junior seasons at Fisher. I was telling you about a kid who could have walked on at Syracuse or UB. He was a 6'5", 240-pound quarterback with a rocket arm. I mean, he could move. Like, this kid, you see a kid like this and you're just like, how does a kid like this get to the Division III level? But, you know, there's just the way that the process goes. You know, he was trying to play baseball too, and he was a pretty good baseball pitcher. He probably would have gotten more looks for baseball, but he was such a good quarterback, and like, especially what he developed into, like, there's no reason why he couldn't have been playing at UB or been competing for a starting job there, you know, his senior season. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little overblown when people try to downplay what college you go to, because at the end of the day, just the opportunity to say, one, that you got to use a sport as an opportunity to go to a school to get your education is one thing. But to then also, when you compound it with, if you are a 4-year starter, 3-year starter, whatever, become an all-conference player at the college level, like, how many people can say that, you know? So it's
And you wouldn't trade that.
no, not for the world. Not for the world.
So Khari, I think we're going to do this every Wednesday, but we fumbled. I've been fumbling the snaps.
Okay. Listen, I got subbed out last week anyways, so you know, it's all good. If you were fumbling snaps, I was just trying to get the game plan on the sideline.
I threw a couple interceptions along the way, fumbled some snaps, and I think I'm in concussion protocol still, but we got to get you on here every week. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
For sure. Hey, you know what? It's like I said, you know, I always just appreciate what you do for these kids and you giving me the chance to be able to help what you've already, you know, been just building up. I mean, it's beautiful to see that you're still able to unify the sports world around here, even in a distant time for a lot of us. So I just have
when we get guests like you, it's easy.
You're too kind, sir. You're too kind.
Well, that was two very exciting guests. I always love talking to Khari. He'll be on every Wednesday going forward. So we're going to hear from Khari each and every Wednesday here on the Sportsline. Lauren Mucica, just a sweetheart of a girl who's gone through an awful lot and worked her way back to getting healthy again, hopefully, so she can play basketball at Slippery Rock. So we'll be waiting and seeing how that all transpires. Tomorrow, we're doing high school basketball for girls. We did boys last week. This week, we're going to do the girls. So I've got a number of good guests coming in. Nick O'Neill from O'Hara, Anthony Adamano from St. Mary's of Lancaster, Brian Baker from Wilson, a whole bunch of others, including Miguel Rodriguez from the Buffalo News. So look for us tomorrow night, 8 p.m. on Facebook or YouTube. Don't forget to like those pages, subscribe for more great high school content. For WNY High School Sportsline, I'm Frank Wolf. Be safe.